So welcome everyone. We're Tidestone Solutions. We have Darren Woodbury with us today, Jake Moore and Alicia Berglund. And we're going to be talking about the Microsoft Dynamics GP web client for version 2013. And this is a recorded webinar, and we'll have questions at the end. And you can send us a chat message with any questions during the webinar. So I'll introduce to you Jake, and he'll be talking a little bit about Tidestone, and then we'll get into the actual demo.
Hello everyone, my name is Jake. I'm relatively new here at Tidestone, so welcome. Thank you for logging in, signing on. Tidestone's been improving business process for the last 20 years, delivering products, tools, and business solutions. We're existing customer focused and enjoy a long-term relationship with those customers. We serve mostly local businesses, primarily in the New England area, but we do stretch a little further than that. Our team can help you with software selection, data conversion, integrating applications, training and support, customer reporting, software implementation, automation of tasks, customization and development, and refining business process. Pretty much, we can help you with anything you really need.
Thank you, Jake. So we'll just, now that you have a little tidbit about Tidestone, we're not just about selling software, we're about services, and we can help you with your business process or anything else that you might have questions with. Feel free to give us a call. So thanks again, Jake, and we'll get into the web client demo. So I know that there are a few of you who have upgraded to GP 2013, and others, I'm not sure what status you're at as far as your version of GP, but we're going to look a little bit at the web client today. We're going to talk about the user interface. I'm going to talk some about the configuration, and we're going to split it up. I am more of an application person here at Tidestone, and Darren is our technical person. He deals a lot in development, upgrades, anything you can do that's technical around GP, Darren's the person to go to. So I pulled him into the webinar today, kicking and screaming, and he's just going to give a little information on the technical side. So initially we'll talk about the user interface, then we'll get into some deployment configurations, what your system requirements are, what the different options for deploying the web client are, have a short discussion around what the difference between web client and hosted means, and then we'll talk a little bit about the pros and cons. Really no cons on our end, but we'll talk about some of the benefits and recap a little bit about the web client. So having said that, the user interface you'll find very, very familiar to Dynamics GP, and especially if you're already on Dynamics GP 13, it looks the same, the feel is the same, and it functions the same as your installation that you might have on your desktop or on your terminal server. The navigation is primarily the same, and we'll get into the application and show you a few of the enhancements on the web client that are a little bit different from how GP works, and some of those I think you'll like. We wanted to tell you how the web client is a secure application. It uses Secure Sockets Layer, SSL, for all you technical people out there. It actually will have a web address for you to log into when you access GP that is secure. The performance of the web client is much like a terminal server. If you're using terminal server now, it will be much like the performance there. And if you're having issues with your terminal server, it's probably going to be even better performance. Initially, when the web client was rolled out, it was rolled out in a phased approach, and all of those phases are complete. It initially rolled out with just the core modules of GL, AP, AR, and BankRec. Now it does have all of the distribution series. It has field service. It has all of those modules that you may need are now available on the web client. So now that we've talked a little bit about it, let's get actually into the application and show you a little bit about this. So you can see I'm just going to my internet browser, and this is our dev machine that we have. This is the path that we go to access Dynamics GP web client. So you would have this initial login, which I'll actually have Darren talk about a little bit as I go through the logins. You'll notice there are 2 logins.
Yep, so initially and currently in Service Pack 2, which was just released a couple, 3 weeks ago, there are 2 logins. So we have to log into the actual, they call it the session host server, as using Windows authentication, and then you'll see in a moment the regular GP username and password will come up. I did want to talk about this. This is familiar to you, that those of you who use a terminal server, you could have multiple sessions open on the session host server. So if you are familiar with remote desktop services and terminal server, the session host is similar to a terminal server. You could have each user basically on the session host opens up an instance of GP, and the session host keeps track of those sessions. So you can see here my login, my Windows account that we just used already has a session open on the session host. So we could either connect to that session or create a new one. And this is a benefit if you lose internet connection, or if you have a blur to the network. When you do get disconnected from the web client, GP is still running on the session host. So when you go back into that session, the window that you had open is going to be right there. It's going to be right back to where it was before. And again, this is similar to terminal server. So you notice this is our second login. Basically, it looks exactly like your login to GP. Now, I do want to let you know that I was at Airlift 3 weeks ago, and for Service Pack 3, they are going to work on the dual logins, and they're going to get it down. Hopefully, by Service Pack 3, they're going to get it down to 1 login, so you don't have to actually log into the Windows portion of it. You just will have this, and then by Service Pack 4, if they get that far, or the next full release of GP, it's actually going to use Windows off across the entire board, and you won't even have to log into GP at all.
Nice. Okay, thank you, Darren. So you notice here, this is your Microsoft Dynamics login window where you can select the company, and I'm just going to select Fabricam for today's demo. So it's going to launch the application for me. And when you have this come up, you'll see that it's going to tell me that I'm in a sample company. So if you have a sample company installed, you may be familiar with this message. I'm just going to click OK through this message because we know we're in the sample company. So if you've been in GP, you're familiar with the home page. And this is the Dynamics GP 2013 home page, which is customizable, and we'll talk about that. But at a first glance, you'll notice at the very top, there's no menu bar in the web client. That's not how you're going to navigate on the web. You're not going to have those drop-down menus. You're going to use either your quick links or you're going to use the area pages. So if I look at the area page, here's my financial area page. This is how you're going to navigate on the web client. So let's just go back to the home page for a minute. And I want to show you how this is now customizable. You can click and drag any area of the home page and customize it to what you like to see on your home page. We can see that our business analyzer is having an error. That's the beauty of our dev environments. We hit them hard, and so sometimes they pop an error on us. So you'll see that Business Analyzer is now part of the web client and also part of 2013. The metrics have gone away. So Business Analyzer works with SQL reporting services, a very powerful tool. when it's working, of course. I apologize for that. And so if you like to customize your home pages, you can actually close this window by going into the Customize This Page and just turn off anything that you don't want to see. So I can uncheck. And also this is with 2013, whereas you can determine what the layout is going to be on your pages. And so I'm just going to click OK here. And this is my home page without the Business Analyzer.
That's interesting you just did that, Alicia, because I think we're going to talk about this, but that you just went down to the right-hand corner, bottom, to click OK, because in the desktop client, that's where it is. But now everything's up at the top, and they call that the ribbon. I think we're going to talk about that.
Right, yes, we're going to talk about the ribbon, and you're right there. And by default, I went to the wrong place. I'm just going to check up here. And so let's actually talk about the ribbons. So I'm going to go to my purchasing area page, and from this page, I'm going to launch a vendor maintenance record. And so you'll notice right away, at the top, it's very different from before. You don't have your menu, but you have tabs, which are ribbons. And so everything is in the same window. You're not getting all of these minimized windows and cluttering up your desktop. You have everything there in one place. So if you look at, let's just pull up one of our vendors here. You can see we still have all of the information from the client install of GP, but up here it looks a little different. We have save, clear, delete. We have the print option, which is new with GP 2013. You can actually add the window note at the top of the window, no longer down here if you were using the window notes. So up here is where you're going to find everything. And so if I wanted to look at the options about this vendor, it's actually on the tab, and then you have the ribbon below.
And one thing I want to say about those tabs is basically any window or any buttons on a window that would normally show up on the bottom right-hand corner of the window, you know, like the options. This vendor maintenance has an options, an address, and accounts button on the lower right. So anything that was there, they've simply moved up to a tab.
Right, and they call these tabs window groups.
Yep.
So if you hear someone mention window groups, this is what they're referring to, are these tabs. And the tabs have ribbons, just like you would in any of the other Microsoft Office products, in Excel or Word. So if you've been working in those programs or applications, you're familiar with these ribbons. And so I kind of like this because I know when I'm in GP and I open up the vendor maintenance and I go to accounts, I now have two windows open. And if I drill down deeply, I can get up to 10 windows open from starting at one window, and it can really clutter up the desktop. So it's kind of a nice new feature there.
And another little tidbit from Airlift is they're working on that for the desktop client for Service Pack 3 as well.
Great. Another item I want to show you is I have vendor maintenance open, but I can also have my transaction by vendor open. And notice it didn't automatically minimize my vendor maintenance window, which is what the client has been doing. And I'm guessing, Darren, that's something they're also working on for the client.
I actually didn't even know that.
Yes. So, you know, being in the application, it's oftentimes you want two windows open at one time. And you can keep these windows open and go to another area page even and open an area page from, you know, sales or financial and have them all open at once. So, you know, I know many of our customers don't just stay in one module. They're all over the place in GP. So this is kind of a nice way to keep it right in front of you, multitask. You know, something we're all doing every day is multitasking.
Very cool. And I also wanted to mention that you see at the bottom left here, right next to the username, that those windows, that's like your minimize and maximize taskbar for the desktop client now. It's just within the web browser.
Right, and you can minimize, so I can minimize that window if I'd like to, and then bring it back up by just popping on the icon down below. Okay, so you can have that multiple window experience, as Microsoft refers to it. I've been drinking the Microsoft Kool-Aid this week.
That sounds like marketing.
So we also have down here, we have a status bar. So you'll notice that it will tell you whether you're connected or not. And if you're in a process, you can see if I hit save there or whatnot, you can see that process, that status bar changes based on what I'm doing. So if you were posting a transaction, that status bar would track that and tell you what's going on with that batch.
And that, I want to say a couple of things about that, actually, about the way that they actually, this is a little technical, but basically the way they designed this web client is they converted the GP code into web-based Silverlight code. So they didn't have to rewrite anything, and this is important because Microsoft Dynamics GP has tons and tons of ISVs that already have all these products written, and they're written in Dexterity, which is Microsoft Dynamics GP's native language. So they didn't want to have to require that those ISVs rewrite everything. So basically they came up with a way to convert on the fly that Dexterity code into Silverlight. And so every time you see that connected status, going, it's basically whenever you do anything, you click a button, you click save, it's basically sending a message back to the server. The server is converting that into Dexterity, it's running it on the server, and then sending the status back. So that's actually what that's doing.
Okay.
If anybody wanted to know.
All right, so let's just pop back to the PowerPoint and we'll talk a little bit about some of the information Darren wanted to bring to the table. Some of it might sound a little technical for you. I know we do have some technical people on the webinar, but there's also good information for end users to bring back to your team to talk about, how you can deploy this internally. There's some options. So I'll hand it over to Darren.
So there's really, we'll talk about the deployment configurations, I guess we'll call it. And there's really three major ones. The single machine was actually just added in Service Pack 2. And Service Pack 2 is the first release of web client that I would consider stable. The RTM version and the SP1 version, I would not say were very stable. And they've also, with Service Pack 2, released a single machine. So basically, you can take your SQL Server that runs GP now, and you can install the session host and the web server on that same machine. And they actually have minimum system requirements, and they're not that bad. For that type of machine to run a 10-user environment, you're only talking about 8 gigs of RAM is what they're requiring. So that's not bad at all. A lot of you already have that, if not more. The second deployment configuration is going to be what they call a scale out, and this is basically you've got your SQL server, you've got a session host server, and then you've got a web server, and that's really for larger environments or people that want top performance out of this this configuration. They also introduced for hosting purposes a multi-tenant. So the multi-tenant services allows you to run multiple installations of GP on the same SQL server. So anyone who's familiar with how GP is installed now, it has a system database and a company database, or one or more company databases. The system database has always been required to be named Dynamics, and with multi-tenant, they allow you to change that now, which allows you to put more than one client installation on a single SQL Server instance. And again, that's really only relevant to people that are hosting multiple clients. So the client system requirements, let me find my notes here. Yes, so for the client itself, the beauty of this web client is that there aren't many requirements. It does require Internet Explorer, no Chrome, and no Firefox, and that's because of the Silverlight plugin requirement. So Internet Explorer 8, 9, or 10 in desktop mode only. So that means no Windows Surface RT and no Windows Internet Explorer Windows 8 app. It has to be the desktop mode. Office 2010 and 2013 only, and Silverlight 5.0, which is a plugin for Internet Explorer. The machine must trust the root certificate, so that goes back to what Alicia was talking about SSL. The installation of the web client requires secure socket layers, and the machine that connects to that has to trust the root certificate. Sorry.
Okay.
So we'll go to deployment options, and basically, you can have three different options, I guess. Intranet would be, you could only access the web client inside your environment, inside your network. It's not accessible through the internet. This is obviously the easiest one to set up because you don't have to worry about opening ports and firewalls. You don't have to worry about having a third-party certificate, which you have to purchase. If you have an internal certificate authority, you could use that, or you could even use a self-signed certificate. We have a special going on right now. Actually, I think we have a slide about that later, but the special that we're offering is an intranet installation. The extranet installation, of course, is basically you could be in a coffee shop, you open up a web browser, and you can access your Dynamics GP installation. That requires a third-party certificate. You could do it with internal CA, but that's a little harder to maintain. We recommend using a third-party cert for that. And then, of course, you've got the combination of both, which is the best of both worlds. Usually with an extranet installation, you're also going to have intranet access as well, depending on your DNS setup. So the next thing we'll talk about is a web client versus a hosted. So web client is not what you would refer to as a SaaS product, a software as a service. So there's a bunch of products out there that are SaaS, and that's basically multi-tenant installations where you have a big company that handles multiple clients on the same code base. So you upgrade this thing once, and everybody gets the upgrade. Everybody gets the updates. GP was originally developed as an on-premise solution, and it still is really. Web client allows us to host it a lot easier than we can now, or we could before, excuse me. But web client, I just want to not confuse web client with hosted, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Web client can be deployed on your internal environment. It can be deployed on a hosted environment. So let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons and the benefits. So you saw that it looks and feels real similar to the desktop client of GP. We can have access anywhere, anytime via the internet browser. That's with the extranet installation. And no VPN, RDP, or Citrix required for the extranet. If you have the intranet installation and you do have a VPN, then you can access it from outside. You just have to connect the VPN first and then go to the web browser. And now all the GP models are now available. Let's talk a little bit about third-party products. We know of one right now that is not compatible with the web client. That's Wensoft. Every other product that we have sold in the recent future is compatible with it. A lot of these ISVs didn't have to really do anything to their code. They just dropped it in and it worked. That's actually true of us as well. A few customizations that we did, we just dropped in and they worked in this environment. Another big thing on this is that VBA customizations are not supported on the web client, and they will not be ever. GP or Dynamics GP is really going away from VBA to use the more modern VS tools. So if you have VBA customizations and want to use the web client, they will not be available on that. And if you need those customizations, you'd have to upgrade them to VS tools.
And if you had a question about whether or not you're using VBA code, you could ask your partner about that. They could tell you. Okay, so let's just go into the web client again and take a look at a couple of other things. One thing I wanted to show you was some of the Excel reports and SSRS reports. There is a little bit of a difference as to how the web client works versus, a client install of GP. And so I'm just going to select Excel reports from sales. And so now if I want to access one of these reports, it's actually asking me if I want to open, if I can allow this to open Excel.
We haven't tested this, so this is a 50-50. Basically, what it comes down to with Excel, awesome. The Excel reports, just like they do now, reside on a share on your server. So with the web client, basically it'll prompt. Looks like it's not bringing up any data.
Yeah.
It basically, the web client will prompt your local installation of Excel to connect to the share. So if you don't have access to the share, then you're going to get an error on this. In a hosted environment, we need to set up some kind of a VPN from your environment up to the hosted. If you have it on premise, then you should have access to that share anyway. Okay. Same thing with reporting services.
So actually what I was getting at was the canned reports. I just want to show you one slight difference. And when you go to print a report, user error here. I need to insert my report first. So when I go to print a report, I had expected it to ask me a path name of where to save it to.
So this is true of GP 2013 as well. Out of the box, all the reports are set to a Word template. It looks like this one may have been changed. But this does show you that we can print regular dexterity reports. This looks exactly like it would in the desktop client. So this is a dexterity report that comes up on the screen.
Okay, so let's change this to be one of the templates.
It's using the template.
It doesn't look like the template. Let's try something else here.
If you just post a journal entry, that was what I was testing earlier. Or print a journal entry.
So when I post a journal entry and the posting journal goes through, it will prompt me. So you can see I can enter a journal entry just like I'm in the client installed. So let's see, we'll go down here. Let's say 100 or 1,000. And I obviously added an account by mistake, so I'm just going to look up another account here. And I can't promise that my journal entry will make sense, but just for the sake of seeing how the print options are a little different. So you can see I have my balance journal entry. I can go ahead and click Post at the top. And when I close that window, it's going to want to print that posting journal. Okay, this is the message that I wanted to have come up so that you're aware of the slight difference of when you print from the web client. So I'll actually let Darren speak to that because you do have to enter a location each time you log into the web client.
Yep, so this is actually a Silverlight restriction or, restriction I guess. Basically the security in Silverlight doesn't allow you to write to the file system without giving permission, and that's basically what this is doing. So since we're printing a Word template, in order to print that we have to have an actual Word file, so it has to have some place to store that file so that it can then print. And you see the note at the bottom here, it says the file will remain in this location after the session is closed and you must manually delete the file. So basically right here, you're picking a path where you're going to store these files, and then it's going to save the file to the disk and then print it, and that file will remain there.
And so I'm just going to click OK and select a location. And you can select the same location every day so that you have one place. Oh, not a good place to check.
Let's see. Try documents, libraries. Yeah, actually, yeah, documents.
So it's that one time, each time you log into the web and want to print. So if you have a default location, you just select that each time. Not a big deal, just a change in how the system operates on the web client.
And they didn't, at Airlift, they didn't specifically say this was something they're working on, but I think this is probably something similar to the login issue that they're going to work on. You know, they want to eliminate steps. They want people to use this thing, so they don't want you to have to do extra things. So I think they're going to gradually get there. They're just not there yet.
Right, and the nice thing is they're Microsoft. They own all the products that they're using, so they can make the changes across applications. Okay, Darren, do you have anything else to add?
Probably.
So I think at this point I'll open it up to questions. I'm going to unmute everyone, and if you have a question, you can go ahead and ask that. Let me just unmute.
I do have one announcement that I was just found out that I was able to relieve. Tidestone Solutions is going to start hosting GP as a SaaS solution to the user. We're going to start doing that fairly soon. We've got an initial plan up. We're going to do it on Windows Azure. So basically what that means is your company would pay a per user per month charge, and you would get GP, and you would get everything with GP that you needed. We will handle the servers. We'll handle all the updates to the servers, all the updates to the application, and all the management of the application. So to the end user, it looks just like a SaaS solution. The only thing you're going to see is the client. So we're excited to announce that.
Right, so you don't have to worry about keeping your hardware up to date for GP internally, which can be a challenge at times. So having said that, are there any questions?
Not a single one.
This is Nicole from HP Fairfield. I've got a few questions. I guess I just wanted to confirm with the web-based solution for both logon and operating performance, you guys are expecting improvements with speed. Is that correct?
So the speed has improved greatly since SP1. Of course, they're always going to try to improve that, but it's basically where it is or where they're comfortable with it right now. The login issue is definitely something they're working on. Another thing with the login issue, Nicole and everyone, that I wanted to mention was emailing. It actually, the current client uses a MAPI client, so you have to have Outlook installed on the workstation. The web client and GP 2013, for that matter, uses Exchange Web Services. So the first time you email something, you have to log in to your Exchange web service, and you have to do that once per session. And that's another thing they're working on. They're going to use Windows Auth, so basically it's going to use whatever you log into Windows as for everything else, and you're not going to have to, it's kind of going to be seamless.
Okay. You had also mentioned Service Packs 3 and 4. Do you have an approximate timeline on when they may be coming out with those?
Yep. So their plan going forward is half years. So they've kind of changed their strategy with GP. In the past, Service Packs have been mainly break fix updates and hot fixes. They started with SP2, and they're going to continue to do that, is release features in their Service Packs. So one thing in particular that, Nicole, I think you'll be happy with, is a whole requisition module inside of GP for Service Pack 3. And that's going to replace Business Portal because they are going to replace Business Portal by the next major release. But basically it's half years, either a service pack or a full release is what they're shooting for.
So there would be like one in January and one in July approximately?
Well, when they say half, you know, sometime in the half year.
Okay. 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 And I was curious if the web-based solutions will improve the ability to integrate to third-party products or even custom-built products with the GP data.
Yeah, so it's still running on, when you're integrating those products, it's really an integration to the database. Web client doesn't really have anything to do with those types of integrations, so the web client is not going to improve that. But
Okay.
another thing that they announced is what they're calling Dex Next. Dexterity is the program, the language that GP's written in. So they're calling this Dex Next. And basically what they're going to do is turn the entire business logic of GP into a service, a WCF service. So, and they're going to give that away. So this is going to replace web services in eConnect. And basically, for integration purposes, you just write code against the inventory transaction window. And you write code against that, and all the business logic for that window that's already written in Dexterity, you get for integrations. So that's going to be big, big stuff. And the developer preview of that is supposed to be ready here in the next half, the first half of 2014. So that's coming quick.
Okay. And then I was also curious if there's a timeline on when WinSoft will become compatible with the web client.
Yeah, I wish I could give you that. I actually went at it with them through email the last couple of weeks because I was very surprised. Well, I didn't like the fact that they weren't compatible yet, and it doesn't seem like they've even started on it, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
So I can't really answer that question.
Okay. And then one last question. Is there any intention to make VBA customizations compatible with the web client? And if not, is there a solution to create those similar customizations inside the web client through a different method?
Yes, so there is no, they've actually said straight out that VBA will never be supported on web client. But VS Tools, which is .NET, C# customizations, you guys have a couple of them, Nicole. That is supported on web client, so those VBA customizations would need to be converted to that new language in order to be compatible.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Nicole. Any other questions from any other attendees? I just want to let everyone know that this recording, this webinar, will be on our website later today. We do put it up there under our blogs, and it's available to you. And just a reminder that the upgrade promotion, if you schedule your GP 2013 upgrade before December 31st, you get that, intranet basic web client installation for free. We don't charge you for our time on that. You do already own the access to it. It's just our time it takes to install that.
One thing I want to say about that is, the reason that we're having that promotion is we want people to start using this thing and become comfortable with it, because it's one of those things that Microsoft's really pushing, and they haven't really announced it yet, but I would not be surprised if, probably not release 14, but when you get into 15 and 16, if they go totally web client and just get rid of the desktop client altogether. So, that's why we're kind of offering it for free, so you can, even if you have third-party products that aren't supported, or you have customizations that aren't supported. You know, if you have an AP clerk or, you know, a certain user that just does inquiries, you know, that's why we're kind of offering this for free, because it's something that you can have in front of you, you can check it out, and it doesn't cost you anything. You know, you obviously don't want to pay for something that you're not going to be able to use or not going to be able to use fully. But if we give it to you for free, then maybe you'll, you know, get in there and say, oh, these few users can use this, and then we don't have to deploy a workstation, you know, for them.
Right, good point. Okay, just wanted to point out a few upcoming events. We do have webinars monthly. This month well, I think I have my dates wrong here. We have a How to Prep for an Audit on the 15th, GP Tips and Tricks on the 12th of November, and a year-end prep webinar on the 12th. So if you have any questions about those webinars, you can go to our website at tidestonesolutions.com. Go to category and events, and it shows you all of our events we have going on. If you have any questions, give us a call, 761-2133, and we'd be glad to help you out with an upgrade estimate or discuss, you know, what your options are for moving forward. So thank you all for attending, and we'll be ending the webinar now. And look on our website later today for the recording of the webinar. Thanks again, and have a good day.